this way. Yeah? No way.
You may ask yourself, what are you doing in my living room? I have no idea what you're doing in my living room, but I'm very glad you're here. And if you're anything like me, you are just a person trying to live their best life. But sometimes it can be a little bit, I don't know, discouraging, intimidating, especially if you, like me, are doing it on your own. So I thought maybe we can do this together. We can go on a journey together. And I invite you to have a look at how I'm building my life, and I'm curious to hear how you're building yours. But first, I thought maybe you'd like to see the farm as I saw it the first time.
Even before I went to see this farm, I knew it was too far away from my job. But I had nothing better to do that day, and I was curious. At this point, I had been searching for the right place for years, and it was just nice to look at what seemed to be a lovely farm. I got the time mixed up that day and arrived an hour early. So I started by exploring the 25 hectares, or about 62 acres of land. I dreamed of rolling pastures, open fields, and enchanted woods. And this farm had it all. Surprisingly, oak trees were abundant, which is not something you see very often in this area. But it's my favorite tree. Other than that, there was a wide variety of leaf tree species, and more common spruce and fir trees, which were everywhere. These are for the most part cultivated and intended for harvest. It's definitely an intriguing thought to become self-sufficient in firewood and construction lumber. Harvesting trees allows saplings and younger trees to grow, which is great for biodiversity. I discovered creeks with beautiful ferns and lots of edible and non-edible fungi. And there were lots of different birds singing and plenty of deer to be seen. Arriving early turned out to be a great thing. Even though it was an overcast day, the farm captivated me with its beauty and its serenity. It was time to check out the house. The house was built in 1890, and when I saw the original hearth in the kitchen, I was pretty much sold then. Wow. It had a bread oven and a wood stove, both in working order. The kitchen interior was newer but quite worn, and charming enough. The view from the kitchen table over the rolling pastures had my heart pounding too. The living room had been tastefully renovated. There were new and old elements. I loved the old pictures and maps. Thankfully, they came with the house. The owner of the house had sadly passed away, and the seller had no need for them. The wallpaper was a reproduction and the traditional tile stove was antique, but salvaged from a nearby house. Upstairs I was met by a huge chimney. Funny, as it looks like a regular chimney from the outside, but all the different downstairs smoke canals merge before being lit outside the roof. I could easily imagine waking up to this view every day. I was used to living in a valley with only trees outside my windows. The next building looked like a second house, but it had actually been a building for storing grain and other food. Unfortunately, time and the elements had done a number on this building, and it only had 2.5 walls. But imagine what it could be one day. A guest house? A studio? So many possibilities. Have you got any suggestions? In the garden, there was a greenhouse with grapes, and there were fruit trees with different types of apples and plums. And then there was the barn. It was big, and it was laid out in a 90-degree angle. The original part was all wood construction with open ceilings. Great for storing farm machines and equipment, or just stuff. Where the old and the newer parts merged, the ceiling was elaborate, yet still rustic. It gave me a cathedral-like association. The newer wing of the barn, well, it's not new, it was constructed in the 1930s. It has brick walls, and it's where the animals were kept. There are still cow stalls, horse stalls, and sheep stalls. The new barn had wood ceilings, and above that was the hayloft. There were doors for dumping the manure on the outside. Sadly, the pasture behind the barn was covered in stinging nettles, but with some hard work, it might become grassy again. Above these wood ceilings, there was a hayloft, and there were still about 40 older hay bales there. Not good for eating, but usable as bedding. At the end of the new barn was a section that had an open ceiling and an opening to go in and out, making it an ideal animal shelter. After experiencing this farm, I knew that it wasn't too far away from my workplace. Rather, my workplace was a bit too far away from the farm. But it's okay for now.
This is the farm in winter. One of the few beautiful winter days, I might add. Most of the times it's just muddy and gross and cold and wet. It does come with some challenges, such as tractor doesn't want to start, plumbing in the barn doesn't work. But you know what? I just try and fix it. If I can't fix it, I'll have to do something else. And there's always a solution. That's the thing. But I thought I'd show you. I have been filming a lot, but I haven't put anything out online. But I want to show you some clips of the things I've done on the farm.
But you'll have to stay tuned for that. For now, I hope you've enjoyed the tour of my farm, and I will tell you all about being an inexperienced solar farm owner. I can't wait to get to know you. Are you a solar farmer? Or aspire to be one? Or just daydreaming? Let's talk in the comments.